Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the council meeting of Monday, September 9th, 2024 to order. Everyone that can, please stand for the playing of the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Carton bras et porter le pays, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Niagara Region and Grimsby are situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendourong, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and the town of Grimsby stand with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor Frank, second by Councillor DeVole. Moved by Councillor Frank, second by Councillor DeVole. Resolved that the September 9th, 2023 council meeting agenda be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Our only delegation this evening is from Ron Muir. Ron Muir will be speaking to the 2025 International Plowing Match and Rural Expo. Ron, please come to the podium. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Could I have my cohorts come with me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
More the merrier.
I'd like to introduce Renata McGilvery and Mel Switzer of the International Plowing Match. OPA, actually, for Mel. He's the president. And Renata and I are co-chairs on the International Plowing Match for the 2025 season, which will be up on the fairgrounds right after the fair next year. We have a short PowerPoint to show. Do you want to talk about it, Renata?
Yeah,
or we can together. We can together.
We can add pieces in there.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, just move quite close to the mic there.
Oh, I'm sorry. So basically, the International Plowing Match is going to be in West Lincoln in West Niagara. And we're expecting, don't know, how do I get to move the pictures? So the last plowing match was in Niagara about 100 years ago, and since then it had traveled out from community to community, and in 2025 will be the 106th IPM. So it's a long history. This is just a picture of the fairgrounds and surroundings. The tented city where all the equipment and the selling vendors and food and all the events are going to be held is going to be at the West Niagara Fairgrounds. All the land around it is going to be used for plowing. And there's going to be RV park in the large part. I think it's south side of the fairgrounds, and the entertainment there is going to happen every night, but the rest of the day, it's 5 days, September 16th until the 20th, that we have the plowing match open, and it is from the morning until 5 o'clock during the day. And
The center of the plowing match is going to be the fairgrounds. That's going to be sort of the hub where all the commodities and all that stuff takes place, a lot of the shows. We have an RV park being put together just to the south as well. And then there's other farmers that have signed and are signing on to contracts for us to volunteer their land for plowing, all different kinds of plowing, horse-drawn plowing, large tractor, small tractor, many bottom.
this is West Lincoln, Lincoln, and Grimsby that
Yes.
are involved in the land.
Yeah, there's going to be approximately, how many people can we say?
I think we'd probably get up to 70 to 80,000. 70 to 80,000 people we figure on coming. And then I'd like to, because it's in the Niagara Peninsula, it hasn't been here for a while, I'd like to exceed that if possible.
And they're all going to need places to stay, places to eat, and all sorts of things like that that are going to affect the businesses of Grimsby, Smithville, Beamsville, probably even Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Welland. Who knows how far it's going to go, but it's a far-reaching, very busy time. Traffic is going to be quite heavy, coming off the main line here, of course, up the mountain, and Highway 20, and some of the other streets as well.
Can I find there's 30 million?
Pardon? Go ahead.
Yeah, the prediction is that the financial impact to our area is going to be about 30 million in income.
Yep.
For
Direct money.
direct income for our local community.
I will say that 30 million is over and above, but would be coming profit from the IPM. Because the IPM, this money, the profits from the IPM is split between the OPA and the IPM. The IPM committee can do whatever they want with that, their profit, part of it, go to the charities or whatever charities they chose to go to.
Yeah, the money derived from it goes back into the charity after our expenses are covered, of course. You want to carry on with the
Sure.
slideshow?
Sure. So Tented City brings all kinds of people. We have quilting, we have lifestyles, we have all kinds of food. We're really trying to promote our local wine industry at this IPM also, and our fruit and vegetable industry. But trying to promote our local tourism because we live in a very interesting area that people should be enjoying a visit to Niagara. Everybody enjoys our wineries and our other farms and our conservation areas, and we have a good infrastructure to accommodate all this in this area. So the IPM is very excited to have it in this area, especially because we already have the fairgrounds there with nice buildings for people to go to, and should be good. We have lots of people here, and we can draw from lots of areas. The RV park is basically, it's going to be a tradition from a lot of people that travel from IPM to IPM every year and spend time at every IPM. In the 2024 IPM, they will be booking spots for the RV park for our coming year, and this will be startup money for our IPM for 2025. So we have like the Canadian Cowgirls coming, we have entertainment every day. The politicians come, I believe that's Doug Ford on the Ford tractor, are going to come the first day, and basically they shut down the legislation for the first day of the IPM because all the politicians are going to get their picture taken on the tractor. And the game is to get the right color tractor for the right party. So not always the tractor is available that they need for that particular party, but they will do the best they can for everybody to get their picture taken. So there's going to be antiques, there's going to be local artists, And there's going to be about 10,000 school children visiting the IPM. There's a large education part for the IPM for the students to come and visit. There's going to be entertainment every day during the IPM hours, and we're going to be bringing local artists to the IPM representing our area. And there's also going to be entertainment at night. So there's lots to do, lots of people to bring in, and the people that don't stay at the RV for a charge can enjoy the entertainment at night at the RV park also. Your turn.
Okay. Is that the next one? Yes. The IPM, it's, like she said, there's going to be many students that come through as well, education program that follows the Ontario curriculum. Traditionally, we welcome 8,000 to 10,000 students over the first 4 days. The IPM is built on tradition. The parade and opening ceremonies are a yearly must-see for many of the visitors. The IPM is the only event in the province of Ontario whereby the legislature adjourns for the day. She already said that. I'm repeating her. Let's skip ahead one. The Queen of the Furrow program has been a cornerstone of the IPM since 1960. Congratulations to the 23-24 Ontario Queen of the Furrow, Mel Karpenko of Peel Dufferin, which is where it was last year. In a few weeks, we're going to have the Lindsay, Muskoka Lakes? Yep. Muskoka Lakes IPM.
No, Kawartha Lakes.
Kawartha Lakes, sorry. Kawartha Lakes is going to be hosting their IPM there, October
1st to the 6th.
1st to the 6th. At that point, on the last day, I'll be up there to receive the torch, I guess, to carry it forward for the next year at the Kawartha one. A main feature of the IPM is plowing, of course. Plowmen come from all across Canada, even some from the United States and Europe, showcasing their plowing skills, and they vie for prizes in a number of different classes. Some of the highlights we had last year, 2023, there was 70,000 total attendees over 5 days, including over 6,000 students and organized school groups. That was in Dufferin. Many visiting dignitaries, including Premier Ford, leaders of the provincial opposition parties, MPs, and senators. Performances by the Mudmen tribute bands and local talent. Performances by the Canadian Cowgirls. Ram Rodeo with Amber Marshall, star of the CBC's Heartland. Auctioneers Challenge, and speed plowing, which is kind of a new thing. Each year, an independent survey is conducted to determine the economic impact of the IPM to the host community. The data is calculated using the Government of Ontario's TRIUM model. Not only does IPM thrill visitors, the study's results clearly demonstrate it has a positive economic impact for the host community. Significant economic activity. Studies show $25 million in positive economic impact by tourists and event operations. The IPM generates regional tourism. There's some of the numbers and percentages there. No vacancy, not yet. We're still okay for this area, but it will get full. There won't be any rooms available for sure. When the IPM comes to town, accommodations are quickly sold out. We always promote accommodations within the host community first. So the closer, the more we'll promote it until they're full, of course. Then I'll have to go to other cities outside of our zone. The economic impact study results, the buying power of IPM visitors was significant. Farm and rural visitors intend to spend in the following months $291 million on farm supplies, $252 million on tractors and farm equipment, $243 million on buildings, $89 million on animal-related supplies, and $38 million on lawn tractors, ATVs, UTVs, snow blowers, and such. So there is a huge selling going on as well. The buying power of IPM, oh, sorry, we did that. You tricked me. Hydro One, dear to my heart. I worked for Hydro One for 30 years, retired now. They're a major sponsor for our event, and so is Ontario Mutuals. Our Hydro One actually comes in and they use this event as a practice for their apprentices, and they'll have them come in and they'll study in the area, then they'll go out and do a practical, setting some poles and hanging wires and stuff like that, and they use it as a training exercise for the apprentices. It's a win-win for everybody, real-world experience. IPM Partners in Success, lots of community leaders, local volunteers, local businesses and organizations, local sponsors, the region and municipalities. We have had an initial meeting with the region. They're excited about this. We have to go through some details, of course, first, but they're on board, I believe, for helping us out any way they can, within reason. We've already also contacted Town of Lincoln, West Lincoln, and they're looking forward to it as well. Provincial volunteers, members of Ontario Plowmen's Association, provincial businesses and organizations, additional provincial sponsors, and plowing competitors. Event partners, well, yeah, it's going to be all of the sponsors, right? 2024 International Plowing Match and Rail Expo, the local community, or committee rather, volunteers and staff, which is, I'm going to guess, was hundreds. Yep. Hundreds of people involved, provincial committee, volunteers and staff, which is also quite a number of people. There's the structure, OPA president, which is, for the time being, is Mel. Then there's an executive director, the IPM chair, that's shared by Renata and myself. We have a board of directors already, IPM board of directors, the OPA board of directors. The OPA is the Ontario branch or overseer of the IPM. The IPM is kind of like the fair for the OPA. I like to explain it that way. The OPA is an organization, we put on a fair for them, and the volunteers, which is us, we volunteer to do some of the work. Not all of it, but some of it. Legal document called the hosting agreement fully defines the responsibilities of both the local organizing committee and the Ontario Plowmen's Association. It also states the terms for the division of the event profits. Like Renata was saying, most of our money is going to go back into the community in some form of a charity, be it whatever it happens to be, at our discretion, and how we chop it up. It'll probably be the communities that help us out, right? It'll come back to you. Also states the terms, oops, sorry. All this we went through, sorry, go skip ahead. One of the first steps will be to incorporate the 2025 International Plowing Match, which we have, it's all done. The 2025 Local Committee Board of Directors will consist of co-chairs under us, directors and a non-voting secretary and treasurer. Niagara Region agricultural leaders and members of local plowmen's associations will be recruited as necessary. You want to carry on? I'm getting dry.
Yeah. Okay, the directors will be responsible. Oh,
Sorry.
I'm a teacher, so directors will be responsible for a series of organization committees. So that means the chairs of every different person, like the quilts, the horsemen, the parade, that kind of stuff. Everybody has a head person for that. Volunteer recruitment events will be held throughout the region and will welcome residents of all ages and interests. Approximately 100 people attend our first volunteer recruitment day in January. It was a full house. Committees will work with well-defined guidelines, have an opportunity to attend IPM 2024 in Lindsay, and be able to participate in workshops led by post, local, and provincial committee members. The Niagara North Lincoln and Niagara North Caister Plowmen's Association are part of a provincial network of 6 zones with 44 branches. Plowmen's Association members will be leaders in the fundamental planning of the plowing competition. Read. You don't need me. Okay. Can we go to the next one? Okay, so volunteers, so we've done a lot of this volunteer recruiting already, people assigned for certain jobs. So we're going to need volunteers for the tractor drivers to take people back and forth. We need people there to help people on the tractors. There's lots of volunteers needed. So the key to our success are the IPM, and you already know that Ron and I are the co-chairs of the planning of the next IPM. The Board of Directors has started meeting and is developing a group of committees that will be working closely with the OPA. The OPA past president, Mel Switzer, president again, has provided important information and guidance and has agreed to continue to be mentoring us. In addition to the financial legacy outlined hosting agreement, volunteers who take the opportunity to be involved in the IPM will be rewarded with lasting friendship, community pride, and perhaps most of all, with leadership legacy. Wow, aren't we lucky? There are two distinct components to this partnership: the in-kind sponsorship and perhaps cash sponsorship or startup loan, and a showcase display. So what this means is we're looking for some money as a loan to start up with some of the expenses, as in one of them is our traditional cookbook and some of our sweaters, hats with a logo for the 2025 on it that we're trying to promote at the next IPM in 2024. And we're also looking for a display from the town of Grimsby in our display tent. So something to categorize like Grimsby as a town into this, to put your personal touch on this. So there'll be a space in the display tent for the town of Grimsby, the town of Lincoln, and West Lincoln.
We have one large tent that we put up for the political dignitaries.
Your
Sorry,
turn.
Renata, not to
Your
step
turn.
on you.
No.
And then you'll have a spot or available spot to be a, participant in that. Smithville's going to be there, West Lincoln and Grimsby and Waynfleet, I believe. We're going to approach Pelham yet. Yeah. So it'll be one large tent for that. Anything else? Or do we got to cut to the chase? If I was you, I'd be bored. Sorry.
So basically, we have been in touch with the West Lincoln firefighters. We have a designated person for all the first aid emergency care that we need. So that's been put in place. What else do we need?
Advertising, we'd like to advertise on some of your available spots where we could advertise with you, along with you. Promoting our IPM,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. What's next?
Large, small, let's choose. Oh, actually, that's for their display, right?
Okay.
We already talked
Yeah.
about that. Road reconstruction, extra grass cutting. I don't think,
No.
That's all gonna be West Lincoln, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no road
no.
construction. We need something from West Lincoln, as in culverts, so that, to make the
Right.
roads.
Well, I think we certainly have the gist of it, and we certainly really look forward to it, the International Plowing Match from September 16th to 20th, 2025. And I just really want to thank you, Ron, Mel, and Renata, for coming out and certainly bringing this forward to West Niagara. It's certainly a very exciting thing, and we look forward to participating, and maybe we can get over 100,000 people. So are there any other questions from council? Councillor DeFlavio.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, congratulations on, it was, I remember when the announcement came out, it was very exciting. Have you spoken to our facility staff? Because Southwood Park is right across the road. So, as far as maybe running a shuttle and using the parking lot, it seems like a pretty obvious partnership, that one there. So, Okay, so because that, I mean, clearly that's something that the town and our recreation staff would want to partner with. As far as we have digital signs, things like that, which I would recommend we could put, as far as advertisement is concerned. Are there specific, because you had some asks there, but there wasn't really anything specific that you're asking. So a motion of council endorsing, or a motion of council endorsing was one of them, which I think is an easy one that we could probably hammer out tonight. I don't know if the mayor wanted to do that, but you have spoken to recreation staff and, sorry.
Sorry. Initially, when I was starting my contact with the town of Grimsby, that was who I was hoping to meet with first, just to sit down with them and get a little powwow and then come here with something more official. But I guess we'll follow that up with a meeting with them after this. Okay, and then we'll try and get more specifics.
Yeah, we're quite happy to hammer out some type of motion for endorsement probably at our next council meeting. We'll have something more formalized, and we certainly want to participate in everything that's going to be bringing this type of population into Grimsby and West Niagara, and it's something that's benefit for everyone involved.
It's a win-win, yeah.
Councillor Sharwa.
Through Mayor Jordan, thank you. I would just also suggest for volunteers to contact the high schools, because the students need volunteer hours. So something safe, obviously, you're probably not going to want them on a tractor. Okay.
Just an answer to that, we have had one volunteer night, and I think we've got about 100 volunteers now, but we will have 3 or 4 more volunteer nights around the area too, so municipalities.
Councillor Frake.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I just want to commend you for being able to attract this major tourism event to this area. Did you say it was 100 years ago that we... 1916. 1916. Wow.
1926 was the last match in this.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, congratulations, and I'm sure that there's, tourism, we want to bring as much tourism as we can to this town and to the towns in the area. So, I mean, this is obviously one of probably the biggest event that I know of that happens in this area. So I got to give you a lot of congratulations and commendations. So thank you very much for coming out and presenting it to us. Thank you.
Recognize that I beat him at pie eating last year.
Yes, you did a good job at the pie eating contest, Ron.
Before I go, I do have a whole bunch of official show guides from last year's match, and I got a report from last year's match, so I can give it to the clerk. Okay.
Want me to take it down now? Okay.
And one thing about the International Plowing Match, we move it year to year. And we're in Lindsay right now, and I'm involved in that. I'm supposed to be at a meeting in Lindsay tonight. But we close up, we have 17 containers that we move from one match to another. So it's not, we own a lot of that stuff, so we don't have to, buy it every year. So we own that and move it. So we work with the community, work with the municipalities to help us put things up and do things. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Can I resolve that the delegation from Ron Moore be received and the 2025 International Plowing Match in West Lincoln, or in West Niagara, be endorsed? All in favor? And that's carried. You're very welcome. Have a good evening. Up next, we have chair's reports. First chair's report is Councillor Davoli for the Finance Committee of August 22nd. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. The Finance Committee met on August 22nd of 2024, and I will just walk us through the highlights of that particular meeting. There are a few outstanding questions for staff to follow up and get back to some of our members' questions on, but basically the reports presented to us, the first one was the biannual procurement report, which was received for information. Is basically a requirement to present it to the committee. The second report was a tax arrears update. I always call some of these reports the canary in the coal mines. They're a bit of, some feedback basically of knowing how our residents are handling their property tax bills and how many are in arrears and so on. And the good news is that Grimsby fares very favorably compared to many of our neighboring municipalities, and our residents are to be congratulated for paying on a timely basis. The next report that came up after that was our investment policy report, and we have been updating the investment policy and working through that. And as part of that, the Finance Committee is recommending that a valuation be undertaken of our internally owned investment, our what is called for accounting purposes our government business enterprise, but that is what we would know as Grimsby Power. We also looked at our other investments in previous meetings and are now working with a new investment advisor as well. And so the staff also had a report recommending that we also, and you will see it here tonight, that we approve the endorsement of going to an amended investment in policy, but that would also include the ability to invest with the one investment. And you will see on our agenda, there is the bylaw drafted. Hopefully, all of you will be endorsing that. And then the Peach King Center expansion, that report comes to us on a monthly basis. And that was really good news as well. I will say most of the major tenders have now gone out and come in with costs. And on that biggest component, which is tender package number 3, that came in significantly under what we were budgeting. And so the prediction is, even if everything else is at the stated expected prices and we use up the whole contingency, the outlook right now is very favorable, that we are not only on budget, but under budget at the moment. And so that was really good news that we're happy to share with everybody. In addition to that, and I think it will be addressed tonight as well, one of the things that the Finance Committee continues to agonize over is the fact that we have meetings on a Thursday evening, and our policy has always been to release the agenda and so on within 48 hours. And it's just, I will say, a pressing issue, especially for our lay members who work full-time too. And so the ask, especially from the Finance Committee, is to ask for a longer lead time, basically that the agendas and the reports come out further in advance before the meeting, and I believe that is one of the amendments to our policies this evening. And then the last thing that was noted is that, and again, we do want to just repeat this for all those listening to our council meeting tonight, that the 2025 budget survey is on Let's Talk Grimsby on our website. We do encourage people to go online and fill that out. We asked that it be extended as it was cutting off and right during the week when everybody's going back to school and so on. And so that will be staying live on our website for a few more weeks, hoping to get more input from our residents. And that concludes our report.
Thank you, Councillor DeVoley. Up next is myself for Planning and Development meeting of September 4th, 2024. We had a public meeting on 165 Lake Street. It's development of 31 units on the lakefront, right across from the treatment plant on Lake Street. And one thing that we've really happy with the redesign is that there will be a dedicated public walkway from Lake Street right down to the lake, and it will meet up with the park to the west. We're really happy about this because the original proposal had the public going through the development, and this way it's separated out, and it's just better for everyone. Planning was very happy with it, and it really helps the Parks and Trails network to be more contiguous along the waterfront. That was the only item we had, and that's pretty well it for planning and development this past week. Can I have a mover and seconder to approve the previous minutes? Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Charwa. Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Charwa. Resolved that the following minutes be approved. Council, August 12th, 20. All right, Councillor Charwa, you want to lift something?
Sorry, yes, I just wanted to lift the council minutes just to, because I myself as listed for attendance. I just want to state, if you could just say that I was electronically participating, if you could separate that.
Yeah, I think that'll be, I don't know if we have to lift it, or can that just be corrected in housekeeping?
Okay, perfect,
Yeah,
thank you.
We'll just correct that. All right, moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Charwa. Resolved that the following minutes be approved. Council, August 12th, 2024. Finance Committee, August 22nd, 2024. And Planning and Development Committee, September 4th, 2024. All in favor? That's carried. Can I have a mover and seconder to approve the council endorsement packages? Councillor DeFlavio, Councillor Frake. Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved that the council endorsement packages for the Grimsby Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting of July 4th, 2024, and the Age Friendly Advisory Committee meeting of August 2024 be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Can I have a mover and seconder to receive board minutes? Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Resolved that the following board minutes be received. Grimsby Economic Development Advisory Committee, July 4th, 2024. Age Friendly Advisory Committee, August 20th, 2024. And Committee of Adjustment, August 20th, 2024. All in favor? And that's carried. Are there any announcements for this evening? Councillor Bradsey.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I got a couple for next Saturday, September 14th. It's a local veteran, his name is Bernie Prevost's 100th birthday down at the Grimsby Legion. Bernie was a Juno Beach veteran. And it's it's pretty rare to find one of those today. And then the Legion also, September 19th, has another Catch the Ace starting back up. The last one rose just south of $75,000 for local charities. And then I also had a third announcement, but I did email a video. So yeah, it was last minute, I'm a little sorry. Quick put up on the screen? Yes. Okay.
Hey, Gary.
Nice shoes, Greg.
Thanks. I'm gearing up for Walk a Mile in her shoes.
Is that where men walk through the Penn Center wearing women's shoes?
And raise funds for Jillian's place.
The walk is a good time.
A good time.
But isn't the walk not till October?
Yeah, but it got me thinking. It's about more than just wearing these shoes for an hour. Jillian's place helps thousands of women every year. They probably need thousands of men to step up. Walk together to show our community that the safety of women and girls is important to us all.
So it's about taking a step in the right direction towards open dialogue and open minds.
Yes! By participating together, we can break down stereotypes and combat violence against women.
Do you know what else would be a step in the right direction?
Entering a team for Walk a Mile in her shoes?
You got it.
Let's go.
Gary!
What's your shoe size?
Are you feeling brave enough to walk a mile in her shoes?
Yeah, you are. Walk a mile in her shoes with your team this October.
Change and save lives with Jillian's Place.
Come on, Gary.
Let's do it, Gary.
Thank you, Councillor Bradsey. Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Friday, September 20th, the Author Series, I think it's our 24th season at the Grimsby Public Library. The first two authors this year are Carol Off. For anybody who listens to CBC Radio, you know Carol Off from there, and Heather Marshall, who is an award-winning author. I'm trying to think of the name of her Looking for Jane was her novel from 2022, which was an award-winning novel. She has a new novel out. There are more series dates on October 18th and November 15th. I would encourage people to buy tickets and to attend. It's going to be a great night. We have Jeannie Becker coming. For those who grew up in the 80s like me, you might remember Jeannie Becker from Fashion Television. She's going to be there in October. I'm definitely going to ask some questions because she's iconic. There's no other way to describe her. So great job by all those involved in organizing it. Another 6 great authors in the fall series. And there are also special events coming up. So I would encourage people to check the library website because there are extra events being added throughout the fall as well. Thank you.
All right. I have one, Councillor Frake and myself participated today in the West Lincoln Memorial Foundation Golf Tournament. We got 11 holes in, and we were -2 by the time the tornado warning came through, and about 4 inches of rain fell in 30 seconds. So we don't know, quite honestly, if they got back out to finish the round, but we hope they did because it did clear up, and it was all a great event, and it was a certainly packed course at 20 Valley today. Seeing no more announcements, up next we have discussion reports. I need a mover and seconder for the governance review. Moved by Councillor Davoli. Second by Councillor Bradsey. Moved by Councillor Davoli, second by Councillor Bradsey. Resolved that report TC 2409, governance review, dated September 9th, 2024, be received, and the council continue with the current standing committee model of governance, and the amendments to the committee terms of reference, including the dissolution of the Cultural Advisory Committee, be approved as presented, and the town clerk be delegated the authority to implement the changes to all related processes, procedures, policy, and terms of reference as required to implement council's decisions further to the approval of this report. All in favor?
Are we discussing this at all?
If you have questions, go ahead.
Sorry, I just assumed that we were. Okay, so I just had some items that I was hoping that we could amend on this report. So is now the time to discuss? Okay. So the first one is on page 85, to do with composition and term. We are at this part, right? Like this section? Sorry.
So through the chair, I believe you're on, you're talking about the standing committees. Yes. And on page 85 of the report, which is it's shortly after the table of contents, so page 4 of the report, if you're looking at the HTML, under composition and term. Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah, there were several sections that I just wanted to get to. I was hoping that we'd have a chat about this. So the first one has, in this section, and I printed the whole 677 pages of this agenda. So this one's on page 85. It says, for composition and term, the chair of these committees will be a member of council and will be appointed by council, and the vice chairs shall be appointed by their respected committee members. So I'm just hoping that we would do what we did last time instead and have the committee nominate the chair rather than it be an appointment of council, since it's the committee that's working directly with the members and would know best as far as who should be chair. So I don't, this is one of a few things that I've kind of highlighted, so I don't know how you want to go through this.
Yeah, I think we have to do resolutions on each single one and vote on them all separately.
Question about that?
Sure, Counselor.
Just a question of clarification through you, Mayor, to the clerk. So council appoints the chair. Does that mean that the committee can't still elect the chair? Is that changing the process, or is that kind of what we already do? Does that, my question make sense? Am I making it overly confusing?
Through the chair, this section, to my knowledge, was not changed. So I wasn't here, so I'm sorry what happened last time, if the committees appointed chairs or if council did. Do you remember?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can maybe answer that. The committee recommends and council would approve, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I guess clarification then, are we starting fresh? Are we doing like whole new appointments and this whole thing?
No,
Okay.
we're halfway through a term. We're not going to change anything now.
Okay. That helps then. Sorry, there were a few other things. Page 83 had to do with the live streaming. It says that the meetings will be live streamed. It says it might be live streamed or, gosh. So the standing committees on all of these, on every single one of these standing committees, it says the meetings of the standing committee may be live streamed. Whereas right now we do stream all of the live streaming. So I would ask for an amendment for it to be, will be live streamed of all standing committees. That was the next part.
Through the chair, through the chair, the reasons like that is that before the procedural bylaw didn't actually say that standing committees would be live streamed. So if we approve the procedural bylaw in the next report, I'm happy to take that as an administrative amendment for the terms of reference. There's no issue with that for me.
Okay, those are the main items for me.
Councillor Cristiangi.
Thank you, through Chair. So just a question, because this is, I'm assuming once we vote this in, this is going to apply immediately to all of our advisory and standing committees and stuff like that. Have we actually consulted with the members on the committees? Because they signed up for something 2 years ago, and now halfway through, we're going to change it. So I don't really like making this decision without the input of the members who are actually on these committees. So I'm just asking if they've had opportunity to at least, I mean, everybody has the weekend to review this, but was there consultation with members so that we know that, because, I mean, if some of these things are deal breakers, we may lose a lot of committee members.
So through the chair, I would say the majority of these, I'm just trying to find the right section so I can share it. The majority of the changes made in the terms of reference were administrative. There was some consultation with the, sorry, I will get there, here we go. Okay. So these were what we determined were the more substantial changes. So the Community Services Standing Committee, moving it to an ad hoc basis, we did consult with the members there. The Community Services Committee, this ties closely to the Art Gallery Special Purpose Advisory Committee and the decision to dissolve the Culture Advisory Committee, so they were consulted, staff made those phone calls. We also are proposing that the members of the Culture Advisory Committee, there is opportunity on the Art Special Gallery and possibly Community Services to do that, so we were hoping, if they're willing to continue to serve, that they would be realigned to the committees that serve their interest. So the changes to the Community Service were just to ensure that there was clarification on that change as well. Our age-friendly and mayor's youth, those changes were the were more administrative template. The Grimsby Green Advisory Committee, there was definitely a more narrow scope applied. Upon council approving or providing direction on that, we can send the terms of reference to the committee for their input as well. We wanted to make sure that council at the is setting the direction for the committee. So if the council's agreeable to the terms of reference, we will then give it to the Green and they can provide any motions for that. And then the GDAC committee, again, those were more administrative changes. So I would say that for the majority, they were consulted, and if they aren't, we can make sure that council's agreeable to those changes and send it back to the committees for their review.
Thank you. I just heard from a few committee members that weren't happy, so I just wanted to make sure that they do get the opportunity to speak and to make changes or suggest changes that we might make on their behalf.
Councillor Sharwa.
Through Mayor Jordan, thank you. I don't know if it's appropriate right now, but like just certain sections, I'm noticing there's different rules for different committees, and I don't want to point anything out, and I don't want to make this a big deal, but I'm just wondering how we have conversation about some of the rules within certain committees in a respectful manner.
Through the mayor, are we talking rule changes or are we talking about specific committee members? Just
Not committee members, just certain items within certain committees that are different than others. So I don't want to point out, so I don't have to point out.
I think if they are specific, we either go into closed or you read them out, whatever you feel comfortable with.
No, so this is just, and I don't know if if this is going to be an overlap of because then we have to approve another item. So when we're talking about conflict of interest, let's say, if we're talking about a committee that is not necessarily, doesn't have video, and then we're also talking about not recording votes, how do you then prove conflict of interest or anything if you have no, see what I'm saying? Like, I just don't want to be dealing with some of these issues after.
Yeah, I would suggest that we deal with them now. So I would suggest continue to talk about them at this point. That's the appropriate point. Conflict of interest is on I believe the third item on every agenda. So if a committee member declares a conflict of interest, we would put it both on the agenda or if it's after in the minutes. And we also have a form on our website where it gets registered there as well for any item of conflict of interest, regardless of if it's council or committees.
I get that and I appreciate that. My point is, so what if a member of the community later says somebody has a conflict of interest and somebody voted, but we don't have a video recording of it. We don't have a recorded vote, so you don't know how the person voted. So how, like, I just don't want to get in trouble with the ombudsman or have issues later with legal in that way. So I just want to make sure that we're doing things correctly.
Sure. Through the chair, it's up to a member themselves to declare a conflict of interest. So if a community member wants to do that, it has to be raised directly with the member. It's up to them to declare it. We can't do it. Staff can't do that for them, and a member of the community can't do it for them. Minutes are prescribed through the Municipal Act, so those are the record. That's where anything would be indicated. If somebody left the room, that would be indicated in the minutes. So if they had a conflict and the expectation was for them to read the room, we would note that in the minutes. So if there's a specific section in the terms of reference that you feel doesn't reflect that, we're happy to change that, but all of that would be noted in the minute.
And I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just wondering how you would find that answer if you don't have a recorded vote and you don't have a recording of it, is my point. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know, unless I'm reading this completely wrong. Because right now, we're talking about not having a recording, and we're talking about not having a recorded vote.
Through the chair, it would be documented in the minutes. So
Oh,
it
okay.
says approved, it would say, for
But
example,
it's not going to say how
Counselor
people voted.
Yeah, it currently
But
does
if
not.
they declare a conflict of interest, then they're out of the meeting. If they don't declare it and you feel they have, well, then that's up to you to file a code of conduct complaint.
I'm not, okay, I'm not trying to be difficult, and I'm not saying that I'm going to. I'm saying if the member, say the member of the public wanted to challenge that, then there's no way to challenge it because there's no record of it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not trying to be difficult.
Yeah, through the chair, it would say it in the minutes, it would be registered on our website, and then it would be up for somebody if they want to debate, if they want to file a complaint, it would go through our code of conduct process, which also includes that, the ombudsman as well. There's multiple options there. So I think what you're asking is documented in the minutes.
Councillor Bradzi.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan, through you. I just wanted to say if we needed to go into, I think it would be in closed session, to discuss any one particular committee or conduct, would we be able to do that tonight, or would that be a later date? Maybe a question for the clerk.
Yeah,
Tonight, right?
Sorry? Through the chair, it would be recommended that if it's a specific committee, if you're looking to make any decisions outside of this, that we do it at the next meeting. If you have a specific item, we can amend the resolution that's on the floor to include going into closed session for something, I think we need a little more detail, but whether it's committee composition or committee fill in the blank, we could do that at the next closed session. We'd also staff would need a little bit of direction of what council's looking for about the reasoning why we're going into closed session, or if you needed a report from us, or just a little bit more information. But we're happy, we can amend the resolution on the floor if that's the desire of council.
Yep, thank you. I would say to protect, obviously, identifiable individuals, but on a general sense, just conduct in general.
So you do need a seconder if that's your resolution. Do you want to repeat it? Yeah, do you want to go over your resolution and kind of make it so council can understand it?
So no, it would be to add, so we can go, we have to go and close next week, not tonight? Yes, from what I'm hearing?
Through the
Or
chair,
whatever you need to make that happen.
that would be my preference unless it's urgent. I think it's important that we're transparent, that we put things on the agenda, that people are aware of why we're going into closed session. We have a full agenda as well tonight. If I may suggest your resolution, I think you're saying it's that council go into closed session at the next council meeting to discuss committee conduct and identifiable individuals.
Bingo.
Right, and I think we have Councillor Corstangi as a seconder on that one.
Vote on that.
So
motion.
you heard the resolution, all in favor? Next meeting. Councillor DeFlavio.
Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to commend staff. I'm happy that we're staying the course. The changes that are being made are minor, but, and I'm sure you're going to say the same thing. Great job. I didn't want to change halfway through. I think that we're making the right decision tonight, and I'm glad that we're sticking with it. The next term of council, they can go in fresh, and if people want to change the process, they start from the beginning of the council term and can start fresh. But I'm glad that we're sticking with it and finishing this term in the way that we began it. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you all of our staff members that were involved in that process.
Councillor Frick.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I'd like to echo what the councillor just said. I think that the staff has done a tremendous, monumental job with these particular documents, and it may not be 100% perfect, but it's moving ahead. We're making progress. That's the important thing. And like we always do, we always get the opportunity to make these revisions, any other revision, to make it more perfect as we go forward. But this document, I think, is important. I think you've done a great job with it, and I endorse it as it sits. So, and I thank you very much for all the work you've done.
All right, seeing no further questions or comments, again, I just want to thank staff too. It was a monumental task, and I understand how much work actually has gone into this and all the changes involved. And I'll leave it at that. Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Bradzi. Resolved that report TC 24-09 governance review dated September 9th, 2024 be received. The council continue with the current standing committee model of governance and cancel and the amendments to the committee terms of reference, including dissolution of the Cultural Advisory Committee, be approved as presented, and that the town clerk be delegated the authority to implement changes to all related processes, procedures, policy, and terms of references as required to implement council's decisions further to the approval of this report. All in favor? That's carried. Second report from the clerk's department is on a midterm procedural review. Can I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor? Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradzi. Yes, go ahead.
I just have a very quick statement to read, if that's okay, before we get into speakers. The purpose of this report is to provide a midterm update on the consolidated procedural bylaw, the consolidated code of conduct, audio and video recording of closed session, rescinding the simplified meeting procedures. And I just wanted to advise council that the town's external legal counsel was heavily involved in reviewing and advising the town on the proposed amendments to the procedural bylaw to ensure compliance with applicable legislation and identification of best practices for municipal meetings.
Sorry, Councillor Sharwa.
Through Mayor Jordan, thank you. I'm going to ask if we can defer this to the next meeting, just because there's so much information and it's really completely changed. I'd appreciate some more time to go through it completely and make sure it's completely compliant with all sections.
Yes. All right, so we need a seconder for the deferral motion, and we'll vote on e-scribe. All right, we have Councillor Corstangi as the seconder. The resolution's to defer. And I'll just ask verbally for Councillor Howe and Councillor Vardy's vote. Councillor Howe.
Yep. No, that's a no for me.
That's a no?
No.
Councillor Vardy. All right, that's defeated. Questions or comments? Councillor Corstangi.
Thank you. Can I put a motion on, through you, Chair? Can I put a motion on the floor to separate my motion of the section of remedial measures to be separated, the update from that to be separated from the code of conduct and be voted on separately?
All right, what I think procedurally what we can do is we can vote on each number in the resolution separately, but I don't think we can pull out individual pieces of the code of conduct document to vote on separately.
Okay, thank you. Because my motion was only for the section with remedial measures, and this is a complete update to the code. So I'm not sure if this is not my motion then, or it's my motion, or I'm not sure how that works. To go through all of this individually is quite extensive.
Through the chair, this is, your motion was included in the changes, but it was an entire midterm review of everything. So I would, as the mayor just said, if you would like to separate it out, you can divide the question and vote on each one separately. I'm not sure if you're looking for changes or you were just looking to, I think it depends what you'd like to do, but we can vote on them each resolution individually if that's the will of council.
All right, Councilor Korsanji, we're welcoming that if you want to lift number 3 separate and discuss it and vote on it separately.
Yes, that will work for me.
Okay, so we need a seconder for that. Councilor DeFlavio. So let's move by Councilor Korsanji, second by Councilor DeFlavio, that the audio and video recording of closed session policy be approved. No, it's not that.
Number 2.
It's number 2 then, okay. All right. Okay, moved by Councilor Korsanji, second by Councilor DeFlavio, resolved that amendments to bylaw 20-74, Consolidated Code of Conduct, be approved as presented. Discussion? Councilor Charrois?
Okay. Yeah, I'm
That's the resolution to put it on the floor. So then we have discussion.
yeah.
Councilor Korsanji.
Thank you, through Chair. Okay, so I did put a motion forward a long time ago for remedial measures because our code of conduct lacked that. So I am in support of having the ability to have the remedial measures when needed. There are a lot of things in this code of conduct, though, that I do not support. For example, the addition to I thought our code of conduct was sufficient. The addition to the social media where it says that anything you post on social media can be subject to the code of conduct, which is fine if it's publicly accessible, but then in brackets it says including your private messages and stuff like that. So I think that's a little bit of overreach because the public doesn't have access to your private messages and stuff like that. So I think we've gone a little bit far. So while I am in favor of adding remedial measures, I didn't think that our entire code of conduct needed to be fixed. So that was my point with that. Thank you.
Councilor Charrois.
Through Mayor Jordan, thank you. Okay, so I spent a lot of time on this going through. I didn't think we were going to go piece by piece, but I guess we're going to have to. So the first one has to do with electronic devices. So page 224, council and committee meetings general. No person other than the clerk or designate may use an electronic device to record the proceedings of a meeting. Notwithstanding the foregoing, members of the media may receive exception to this section if they submit a written request to the clerk no later than 24 hours before the start of a meeting. The clerk approves the request. So this is just one example of certain things that have not been compliant with several sections of the Charter of Rights, and other municipalities that have tried to do these things have had a lot of pushback and then have had to reverse that. So I would just suggest we take a better look at this stuff. So the other part, to ensure all members of the public are comfortable participating in meetings and to avoid disruption of the proceedings, and to avoid disruption to the proceedings, signs, banners, emblems, and flags are prohibited in the council chambers or any space where a meeting is to be held. This was something that the Niagara Region, I believe, or was it Niagara Region or St. Catharines, tried to bring this in, and there was an outcry. So I don't know why we would possibly go down that road again, or attempt to. Page 228, the rules of procedure. We're talking about length of time a person may speak. They can speak to any question. Sorry, this is still part of, right, sir? We're not on the procedural bylaw, or
We're on
past
number
this?
2. We lifted it for separate consideration.
Okay, so we're on, okay, code of conduct.
I think you were the
Let me pull that
seconder.
up.
Oh, no, Councillor DeFlavio.
Okay. So when I was going through this, I pulled out my old code of conduct and made a whole lot of notes. So first part, access to information and confidentiality, that part was added. I just don't understand how we can possibly approve this all right now when there are so many changes to this. Like, this isn't just one or two items that have changed. There's significant amounts that have changed. It's a complete revamp, and we just got it. And this is something that reflects every decision we make in council chambers. So I just don't, okay, first of all, another thing as well, I'd like to know how we got here as far as who, so Victoria, this was you, Mr. Maynard, and I'm assuming ADR Chambers that wrote this up? Like, how did we get here? Because there are certain things here I'd like to challenge that other municipalities are not doing.
Through the chair, the code of conduct was updated first with our legal counsel and then followed by our integrity commissioner, and there was some back and forth between the two. This was highly recommended by our legal counsel that we take on this template to better reflect what other municipalities are doing. And they, as I said at the beginning, they had a heavy presence in revising this.
So for clarification, though, the legal counsel is the same firm as our integrity commissioner, right? ADR Chambers, or
No,
is this a
it's Aaron
separate?
Burles.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, that I feel better about that. That's for sure. Okay, well, that's good. The one thing that, I do like is the fact that we talk about the chair and the chair's responsibility. So if there are discussions and something needs to be resolved, that the chair takes the onus on, right? That's something that happens in all municipalities. The whole investigation process that we've gone through is something that is singular to Grimsby. It doesn't happen in other municipalities, definitely not retroactively applying rules into pending proceedings. That's also something. Certain things do not comply with the Municipal Act, which I can bring forward with my motion later. So I don't know where we go from here, because I feel like this is a losing battle anyways, but this is not something that's compliant with the Municipal Act or several of the charter rights.
Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you, Mayor. When I saw the agenda and I glanced through this, and I apologize for not reading it more thoroughly, I was under the assumption that we would have a presentation tonight that would show a matrix that shows changes being made. Traditionally, when we make these types of changes, we would get, a chart that shows before and after, so that we could compare what we have currently and what we're going to. That's why I voted for deferral tonight, because as soon as I saw that there was no such presentation, I wanted to give staff a chance to prepare something like that so we could see the changes that were being made. I don't know enough about the changes to be, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know enough about the
Just to
changes.
further clarify, there's Appendix B in the report that is the summary of substantive changes to the procedural bylaw. So it's all there.
It is, yes, traditionally, and I'm sorry to use that word, but we would put that up and have that discussion publicly rather than it just being in a report. It's a discussion report, but it's usually a report that where we see a presentation and we discuss each item as it comes through on the report. So the Appendix B, which you're mentioning, I agree it's there, but it is in summary form, not side by side, where you can see it before and after. So you kind of have to go and look for, if it's the document that I'm thinking of, you have to go and look for the changes yourself rather than seeing them side by side, which is a significantly different way of looking at things. So that was why I voted for deferral, because I was hoping that we could get something that is more comparative.
Yeah, there is a red line revision right in the report that spells out the changes, and it shows you in red what has changed. Councillor Charwa.
Through Mayor Jordan, thank you. So like I said, I've gone through this. It's a completely different document. And one thing that really stood out was the deletion of the section transparency and openness in decision making. So in that one's completely gone. It says members, so our previous one said, members shall conduct council business and their duties in an open and transparent manner so that the public can understand the process and rationale which has been used to reach decisions. B, ensure the public has input and receives notice regarding council's decision-making processes in accordance with the procedural bylaw. C, ensure compliance with the Municipal Act 2001, Municipal Act of Interest, Conflict of Interest Act, Municipal Freedom of Interest and Protection Act, Protection of Privacy Act, and other applicable legislation regarding open meetings, accountability, and transparency. Gone. This is in the code. This was in our previous code of conduct. It's no longer in the code of conduct.
Go ahead, Tori.
Sure. Through the chair, in the report, we note that several times we have deleted things that were redundant, that were in either the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act or the Municipal Act. That was one of the sections where the role of the councillor and accountability and transparency is already in provincial legislation, so we eliminated it from here to avoid a misalignment between a bylaw and provincial legislation.
Okay, there's sections in here that are non-compliant with the Municipal Act. So for instance, where we're talking about 180 days to provide a report, the Municipal Act is firm on 90 days or before. Mine went 212 days, but that was okay. So there are things that do not apply. For those of you that were not at AMO, our Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing actually said that there is a review right now for the Integrity Commissioner process because he called it a wild, wild west because municipalities are all doing their own thing. So they're trying to come up with something so that all municipalities are following the same thing and we're not just making bylaws up on the fly. I've actually did get I got a hold of him at the end and I've asked to be a part of the feedback for when that report comes out. So if we could possibly defer this until we get some more legislation, this is too important to pass today, not like this.
Go ahead, yeah.
See, Mr. Mayor, I think the clerk made it very clear in the beginning that this was vetted by legal. So if you do have any concerns that it's breaching legislation or legal has ensured that this is in compliance. So if that is your stance, I think the best recommendation at this time is that you ask for a deferral.
I've asked for a deferral.
Deferral deferral was asked for, and it was defeated. Yeah, so. Just a further clarification, the fact that the provincial government in 2018 put this process in place, so it's really on them why every municipality has to have an integrity commissioner. It was put in by the province.
Can I comment on that? Is it out of line if I could, or no?
If you want to comment on it, you go ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Obviously, they've noticed that there's improvements that need to be made because they're finding there are overwhelming amount of complaints coming through the ombudsman. So this is something that they're reviewing right now because there are problems. He's addressed this multiple times. This is something that came up last year as well.
Well, I guess we're still waiting for their legislation, so I guess we'll continue to wait. So has anyone else want to speak again?
On the code of conduct specifically.
On the code of conduct specifically? Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. So section 3.6 regarding advisory committees mentions that members who are not a member or are not appointed to a standing committee may attend the meeting but may not speak.
That's the procedural bylaw we're speaking.
Oh, sorry,
on
my
the,
bad. I apologize.
Consolidated code of conduct right now.
My bad.
Councillor Korstanji.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I have concerns with 18.1 legal fees. I understand why we don't want to pay legal fees for people in these situations, but at the same time, I think we're violating one of the motions that we put forward in the very beginning of our term was removing barriers for underrepresented demographics. I fear that when we get into these situations, if somebody needs legal representation as a direct result of this position and doesn't financially have the resources to that, it puts them at a disadvantage as opposed to somebody who does have the financial resources. So I would like to see the legal fees part removed. It wasn't in the original one. If I can, so what I'd like to see is that a resolution for that to be removed, and for the 12, the social media, to revert back to the original one in the original code.
Do we have a seconder for that resolution? Councillor Sharwa. Yeah, it is, certainly I know the region doesn't pay for councillors' legal fees. I know they paid for Councillor Gale. I certainly voted against that, and it was pretty close to a tie vote. And I think that if you feel strongly enough, you either represent yourself, find the money, or find a lawyer to, if it's a good case, they will do it pro bono. So, and I think looking across all the municipalities, or certainly the ones I've talked to in Ontario, it's defending someone who puts a claim together and files a claim. Paying for their services is not something that's certainly normal. It was the first time I'd seen it at the regional council. And there were a number of councillors and a number of mayors that were extremely disappointed that we at the region set that precedent. The resolution on the floor, moved by Councillor Korstanji, second by Councillor Sharwa, is to defer, is it? Or is it?
To amend the code of conduct so that the social media section be reverted back to the original, and that the legal section fees be removed.
All right, e-scribe vote. Okay, CIO would like to comment before.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, regarding the removal of the legal fee section, I mean, I think it might be best it's deferred to staff to see if there is any implication on cost for removing that, because it could open up to significant legal costs. Maybe it's an application that someone puts forward for any kind of undue hardship, like something more case by case, rather than opening it up completely like this. Yeah.
Thank you, through Chair. I completely understand what could possibly happen. We see that right now with the integrity commissioner, but it's the same type of thing. My concern is the imbalance that's going to happen if somebody has the financial resources to hire the best lawyer and somebody else doesn't, and we're constantly in these battles. I don't want to see that imbalance. So if we say that nobody can have representation, then it's fair. I'm totally happy with that. Or we say that, you know, the person that wins gets reimbursed or whatever. I just want to not put barriers up for people that can't afford lawyers at their discretion. I don't know many lawyers that do it pro bono. I want to make sure that we're being fair and that everybody can have access to fair representation if needed. That's sort of my point with that. So I'm happy to defer that section and refer it back and come up with a more equitable solution.
Yeah, we have a resolution on the floor, so calling the vote to vote on eScribe. Well, no, we have a resolution with a mover and seconder, so we need to vote on that first, defeat it, and then maybe try again. I don't know. Councillor Howe?
You there?
Yeah, yes or no, Councillor Howe?
No. Tell me that you heard me.
Yeah, well, we heard you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and that is defeated.
So we go back to the original to vote on the amendments.
All right.
Number 2.
All right, so we moved by Councillor Corstangi, second by Councillor DeFlavio. Resolve that the amendments to bylaw 27-74 Consolidated Code of Conduct be approved as presented. Councillor DeFlavio?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the clerk. So regarding the social media section, it says, personal social media accounts are captured by the code. Anything posted or shared which is publicly accessible, that's an important part, i.e. accessible to any member of the public, staff, or any other member of council, including private messages through a councilor's private or public social media account, is subject to the code of conduct. Does that mean personal conversations between two councilors are subject to the code of conduct? And if so, what distinguishes a social media account like Messenger from personal messages like text messages? Because is it just what you use to communicate with somebody else? Because personal messages are no different than a text message. So are my text messages now to one counselor subject to code of conduct as well?
Through the mayor, the situation I'm envisioning in this scenario, and I'm not legal counsel, but the situation I'm thinking of is if you were communicating with another council, a member of the public, and they submitted a code of conduct because they felt your conversation was out of line, and they screenshotted that text message, that social media, and submitted it as evidence, I think in this scenario it could be considered is what they're trying to get at. I'm happy to clarify that.
That makes absolute sense. That's not what it says here, though, right? It says that all my private messages are subject to code of conduct. It doesn't say why. So I think including the why part is very important. And then I think probably, and I don't want to speak for Councilor Corstangi, that would probably make you feel a lot more comfortable, because that would make me feel a lot more comfortable. Because the way it seems to be written now is that my personal messages between myself and another councilor, if the other councilor is part of that conversation, are still subject to a third party having access to them. It doesn't clarify that it's if A complains about B, then A can give a snapshot. It just that right. Those aren't public, so those are private messages.
Through the chair, I understand what you're saying. I would just, the entire purpose of this is reporting on how behavior is in a code of conduct. And so I think in that scenario, Counselor A could screenshot that private message. That's what it's referring to. There's not a third-party aspect to this, but an investigation could take place. Like, it's not a Freedom of Information Act where we would ask for records. So if you have clarity, I'm happy to add in third-party.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, under definition of social media, it states it refers to freely accessible third-party hosted interactive internet technologies, right? So like your text isn't a freely accessible third-party hosted platform.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. My point is that one is subject to the code of conduct and the other one is not. So it's just what you choose to communicate on that is distinguishing whether it is subject to the code of conduct or not. So a text message is not, according to this code of conduct.
And I think it's saying that a messenger between two counselors is not, other than if one of the counselors finds it's a violation.
Right, I understand that. I understand
And I
that after
think
the
that
clarification.
that's
I
the
don't
way.
think that that's what it says here. You know, perhaps in adding a phrase like "in the course of an investigation" or something like that might help to clarify that statement. But this statement just says that your personal messages are subject to code of conduct. So if two counselors are joking around with each other and it's an equal, you know, like where it's just friendly and not where one is offending the other, that could also be subject to code of conduct outside. It doesn't say that one party is making a complaint against the other. It just says it's open to.
My question is, how would someone even know about that? So if it's two counselors that are having a private conversation, it would only be one counselor or the other counselor that could file anything. No one else would even know about it, unless it was leaked to the public by one of the counselors.
I agree. It is private though, right? There's a difference between private and public, and and within this very statement, it says publicly accessible, and then it says private messages. So those are a conflict. Those two statements are a conflict. If it's been vetted by legal, it doesn't make sense in the way that it's worded to me. But you know, if people want to vote in favor of having their private messages open to the public, I don't know. It just seems unclear in the wording.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, I think we agree, and that wasn't our intention. So, I mean, we can take that and definitely change the wording, but the intention is that not private text message, it's more the social media, public platforms. Yeah.
Councillor Sharwal.
Through Mayor Jordan, thank you. So another thing is there. I've read through a bunch of different cases in other municipalities regarding social media, and the Integrity Commissioner complaints found completely different findings based on social media use. For example, there were some that were kind of outrageous as far as what like a counselor had said that was pretty offensive within a community group. And the Integrity Commissioner actually said that when everybody is in this community group or Facebook group, they are consenting to being in that group. So even though what this person said, I would personally not say it, was offensive, they found that there is a consent that happens as soon as you are in this group. So I would look to other cases, because a lot of these things are completely against findings of other municipalities. So I'd keep that in mind, because people do go to legal to get advice on a lot of these things.
All right, I think we've discussed this enough, so we'll call the question on that. Vote on your e-scribe.
Through the chair, Councillor DeFlavio just asked if there's a change being made. We're doing a social media bulletin to accompany this, so I'm happy to, one, send that to legal counsel to get their opinion on that clarification, and two, provide clarification through our social media bulletin, and if we need to further revise it, we can do that.
All right, we can find it. Who would someone else like to move it? Councillor Frake. Councillor Howe.
No.
That was a no. We heard you. Councillor Vardy says yes.
Did I say yes?
What the resolution on the floor is now, Councillor Vardy, it's moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor DeFlavio. Resolved that the amendments to bylaw 20-74 Consolidated Code of Conduct be approved as presented.
Yes. I vote yes.
All right, that's noted, Councillor Vardy. Thank you. All right, that is carried. All right, the rest of the resolutions, moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Resolved that report TC 2410 mid-procedure review dated September 9th. Number one, that the amendments to bylaw 2065 consolidated procedure bylaw be approved. Number three, that audio and visual recording of closed session policy be approved as presented. Number four, that the simplified meeting procedure for advisory committees be rescinded. Number five, that the town clerk be delegated the authority to implement changes to all related processes, procedures, and policies as required to implement council's decision further to the approval of this report. Councillor DeFlavio?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Section 3.6 regarding advisory committees says members of council who are not appointed to a standing committee may attend the meeting but may not speak, and a brief written statement may be provided to the chair in advance of the meeting to be read on the record. My concern about this is that oftentimes during the course of a discussion during committee meetings, questions arise that would best be asked at the committee. I understand not allowing a councillor to go on a speech, but I think asking questions is an important part of committee meetings. So I don't know if it's a friendly amendment or not, but I think the ability to ask questions at a committee is very important. Asking questions helps committee members that maybe the committee members didn't think of those questions. It saves staff from having to go back when it comes, because otherwise council members would have to wait until the council meeting and then ask to have it sent back.
So I think those questions have to be asked at council, because once a member of council starts participating at a meeting, we get quorum issues and it becomes a meeting of council. And it's been decided by both the integrity commissioner and the ombudsman that it becomes a legal council meeting, or has the potential to do so.
So thank you, Mayor. Through you, to the clerk, there were decades of council meetings and committee meetings where councilors attended. So are there legal findings that say that council members who attend committee meetings are, because there's no voting occurring, there's no, they aren't part of the quorum. It's very clear that they're not, because they're not sitting at the table. They're asking a question at the podium or from the audience. Is that a fact that they're considered a quorum? Because then there are many. The city of Hamilton, for example, has committee meetings where council members are allowed to go and ask questions. So if that's a fact, then I think that there are a lot of communities that are doing it wrong. So I just want to know.
Councillor DeVoley.
Mayor Jordan, I would just like to add a thought to what my fellow councillor said. I think the problem that I have noted in meetings is that when we sit in the audience and we ask a question, very often there is a long preamble before we get to the question. If people could contain themselves to only asking the question, I don't think I'd have a problem. But most of the time I find that we feel compelled to kind of give the background to why we're asking the question, or we add our thoughts in or whatever. And unfortunately, our conduct and how we speak about it is not so succinct to only restrict ourselves to the question. And it adds all those other components into it, which then puts us in danger, right? My second thought I'll add to that is certainly people have the opportunity to ask questions and to submit them to the chair ahead of time. I hear your comment that sometimes you think of questions while it's ongoing. I don't think I have a problem as the chair that if my fellow councillors were sitting in the audience and had a question and they came up and slipped me a piece of paper or whatever with their question on it, I would certainly take it and ask on their behalf. But I think what we're trying to get away from, and I will use this word, is from councillors sitting in the audience and pontificating on the topic and not just restricting themselves to the question, because that's a slippery slope that we go down. And so we're trying to restrict it to just that, and then trying to help each other by saying, just submit your questions to the chair beforehand, or I'll say even during the meeting, and that way we don't go down that slippery slope.
Through the chair, I'm not sure of any specific cases. I'm happy to take that back to legal counsel and ask them if there's a reason that it's phrased like that. I believe the general thought is that council members are appointed to committees and that all committee business does come to council. So the appropriate time, given how this is written, is that if you're not on the committee, the appropriate time to speak would be at the council meeting when that topic comes up. That would be the thought behind it, but I'm happy to follow up for any legal examples.
Councillor Bradzi.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I agree with Councillor DeFabio's point, especially if I think the only instance we have of this would be the planning committee, where we don't have enough councillors on the committee to meet quorum. So we don't really run into that issue there. So I wouldn't. And in one open house, I did yield the questions, and I'd have no problem doing that. But I just wanted to make that statement, and I think Leanne had her hand up on Zoom.
Councillor Vardy.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. You know, my concern about councillors who are observers are not observing. So they do have an opportunity to put their questions forward, as Councillor DeVoley had suggested, or do it ahead of time. But, you know, once they become a participant, you know, the whole tone of the meeting has changed. So I'm inclined to say, look, you know, you can flag a question to the chair beforehand or pass a note, and then if during the course of that meeting your question's not answered, you have the opportunity to pull the item up for a full council discussion when it comes through to council. So I think that if we let everybody talk at any time, we're never going to get through any business, you know, because I think we do have some councillors who like to talk a lot, and I'm just trying to be pragmatic about this. I mean, it's not as if the person won't get their shot at it; they will, but we need to be cognizant that we're here to do business, and to sort of get on with it.
Seeing no further discussion, I've read the resolution. Please vote. Councillor Korsanji.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just wanted to discuss 3 council and committee meetings, general meetings open to the public, 3.5 and 3.6. And this talks about meetings that are open to the public that nobody is allowed to record them, and you cannot use an electronic device to record the proceedings of a meeting. Members of the media can get an exception, but if a unauthorized recording device is discovered or reported during a meeting, the clerk or designate will request the owner of the device to erase the recording to the satisfaction of the clerk. And if they don't feel that's done, the owner of the device is not compliant to the request of the clerk, local police services may be called for assistance. So I wouldn't have a problem with this if all meetings were recorded or live streamed, but since we do have meetings that are not recorded, I can tell you I sat in an advisory committee the first time I was able to, due to employment, and it was very beneficial to sit in that meeting because it reports to one of the standing committees I'm in. So if I can't make it, it would be nice if there was a recording of it that I could hear so that I could understand what's going on. I think this is like a little bit of overreach if we're saying that somebody can't record a meeting that's open to the public anyway. Not everybody can attend meetings due to employment or accessibility and stuff like that. We don't, so I think this is just a little bit much. And then to go to the police if somebody catches, we had talked about this before, and it was because we had brought this concern up that somebody could record a meeting, sit in the audience, and that was perfectly fine months ago, and now all of a sudden the rules are changing. So I just think it's a public space, it's open to the public. Nobody is saying anything that's confidential that shouldn't be recorded, so I don't see why somebody could not record it.
Thanks. So through the chair, I can address a couple of those things, and you can let me know if you're looking for more information. This has been inputted into procedural bylaws across a lot of Ontario municipalities. An example would be there's been some issues when people live stream, like through Instagram or Facebook. Live streaming a meeting, it becomes disruptive. People are more focused on the Instagram live streaming versus the official recording. I think if council would like to record all meetings, that's a motion of council. The rationale I have been told behind not recording most advisory committees is that it's supposed to be an informal discussion. It's supposed to be a space for ideas to be presented without necessarily the criticism of the public watching that meeting. I think if that's council's direction, it would need to be a separate motion. All committee meetings would then need to be held in the council chambers. We'd have to review the scheduling and some overtime for our IT staff. Those are some of the implications of the recording advisory committees. Did I miss anything else? Sorry. Was there anything? Okay. Sure. Through the chair, local police is equipped to handle situations when people are being disruptive or any instances recording people without their permission is not something town staff or council or even bylaw staff are equipped to handle. So that would be the next escalation point.
Thank you. I understand if people are live streaming through Facebook or something like that, but if you're just like, you have your phone and you're recording a meeting, or if staff just records it so that there's audio so that you can listen, I don't think that anything bad is going on in meetings that aren't recorded, but I think to have access to that is very beneficial to council when deciding on things, and to other members. If something does happen and you have issues on an advisory, at least there's a recording of that. I just think that this has gone a little bit too far, and really restricting something that is supposed to be open and accessible to the public.
Councillor Sharp.
I still have some comments as well for this, but if we can put a motion for all committees, advisory committees to be recorded, I would like to put that forward, please. Even if it's just an audio recording, just so that you can go back to it if somebody wants to hear the meeting or what's happened, just for record.
So that's recorded by staff then, right?
But to be able to hear it. So I don't know if it's like accessible so that we could actually come in and listen to it. So I don't mind, like if you wanted to video it and then come here, but I do get a lot of information from these meetings, and I do like to hear firsthand information. So it doesn't need to be, but if a member of the public wanted to come and watch it here, or if I wanted to come and watch it, I don't need to have it, but I would like to see it, and I would like to hear all of the conversation.
Yeah, well, probably the problem we run into if we further review this is the fact that now we're going to have to re-poll all our lay members. We're going to have to find out what this cost is. There's a cost, one for audio, a larger cost and possible conflict of the council chambers and scheduling if we have video as well. So it'd be,
Or it could be, it could be video
we could
just.
have staff report back.
It doesn't have to be live streamed. So even if somebody, a member of the public or somebody that wanted to watch it came into town chambers, this is one of our prime mandates, is to be transparent and accountable to the public. So I don't want to put it out there so that you get trolled, but you should be able to get information. And so, I don't know.
Through the chair, I would maybe make the suggestion that staff report back on resource implications so that you can make that decision knowing the full picture, and as opposed to, like right now, we have resolved that all advisory committees be recorded moving forward. But it's up to you. That would just be my suggestion in terms of getting an idea of our options for audio, visual, both, and staffing, staff costs and chamber scheduling.
I still have comments, but if Councillor Korstanji wanted to address this, go ahead. I don't know if Mayor Jordan.
Sarah, you have a comment? Go ahead.
So through you, maybe the report might help because this would impact just our advisory committees. And in the beginning, when the committee members did sign up, we did state that there was no recording of these meetings. So now this kind of changes the terms of it, and it might be worthwhile to have their feedback as well.
Councillor DeVoley.
Mayor Jordan, just a question. Could someone just reiterate the list of the advisory committees that we are considering in all of this? Could you just read that list for me again?
Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So our advisory committees are Age Friendly Advisory Committee, which is not recorded, the Art Gallery Special Purpose Advisory Committee, which is currently not recorded, Committee of Adjustment, which is currently recorded, GDAC, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, which is not currently recorded, Grimsby Green Advisory Committee, which is not currently recorded, the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee, which is currently recorded, and the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, which is not recorded.
And in follow-up to that, where does the entities, like the local boards of, I'm talking about the Grimsby Downtown Business Improvement Association, the Library Board, and so on, how do they fit into this picture?
Those three examples are boards committed by council. They have their independent procedural bylaws, to the best of my knowledge. I know the DIA has one. I suspect Hydro has one. And the library board, the library board follows the town's procedural bylaw. None of those boards are recorded or live streamed. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, the library board does record, it's just not live streamed, so they have a record of it on file.
I stand corrected.
Can I continue, sorry, with the other one?
The motion's on the floor.
All right, the deferral motion?
No, the
for
staff report back.
Staff report back.
On the recording advisory.
Okay.
In the end.
Councillor Vardy.
You know, I'm listening to all of this, and I think what it really comes down to is that we need to trust each other, that we're doing business properly, and you know, at a certain sense, we just got to be pragmatic. You know, we don't have the capacity to be so administrative heavy. You know, we do have minutes taken. People have the opportunity to talk to the chair. People have the opportunity to, you know, sit in on a meeting. They have an opportunity to pull something up if they don't know. But at a certain point, and you know, I'm listening to all of this, and the elephant in the room is we need to trust each other. And if we can't do that, we're going to get nowhere in this term of council.
Yeah, we just had a point of clarification from the chief librarian that the library board meetings aren't recorded. So.
Okay, so Claire, sorry, I was on the board, so I thought when we're Zooming that those were also recorded, but not, okay.
Right, so the resolution on the floor is resolved that all advisory committees be recorded. And
Seconder?
Do we have a seconder?
Oh, he has a question. I think Councilor.
You have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Would we be able to put this to the discretion of the committee? Because some committees have very different dynamics than others. Some prosper more from open collaboration and conversation versus like the structure of formal meetings can bog that down in many ways. So if it's for every committee, I'm going.
Yeah, I don't think you can really pick and choose a resolution. It's either yes or no, for it or against it.
Okay.
Yeah, the resolution's on the floor, so vote with e-scribe. Councillor Howe.
No. You got me?
Yep, we got that. Councillor Vardy?
Thanks.
No.
All right, we got that. Thank you. All right, that was defeated, and who has the floor?
Councillor Charwa.
Councillor Charwa has the floor for the rest of the procedural bylaw.
Thank you. Okay, so notices of motion, page 228. Actually, before that, no recorded votes. So this is on page, 228. 9D, no recorded votes may take place, and no record or notation of members' opposition or favor on any issue will be recorded in any meeting's minutes. I think that's important that we have recorded votes. So I'm going to ask that we amend that if that is possible. These are for advisory committees? Is this just for advisory committee? Right. Okay. It was for the printed version, it's 228. God, I don't, sorry, this is for standing committees of council. Yeah. Page 13 on the procedural bylaw, if that helps. 13 of 42. 14, sorry, of 42. So the recording of, no recorded votes.
Through the chair, yes, both for standing committees and advisory committees, we have put in there for no recorded votes. This is because they are less formal than council typically, and we leave that typically for a council meeting.
So I just ask if we can ask for a recorded vote if it's requested. So it can just be like call out, that's fine. We don't have to have it through e-scribe.
Councillor DeVoley.
Question, won't that happen anyways now because we're leaving the simplified rules of procedure and moving back to using the full rules of procedure for all the advisory committees too? So that's just part and parcel of the usual rules, right? That someone can request a recorded vote. So by moving from the simplified rules to back to the full rules for all the advisory committees, that will allow it to happen no matter what.
Through the chair, the reason it's in there was to not allow it. That's why we
Yes.
put it into the procedural bylaw. If you'd like to make that amendment, I think we can put that forward to remove recorded votes, to permit recorded votes for standing and advisory committee, if it's requested. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to put that forward.
We just need a seconder. Counselor Frake?
Can we do it by hand or?
Yeah, well, I think we can do it by hand. Should be, I'm good with this.
Wait, no, but it says
Yeah.
something else.
All right. So, council, we okay with that?
Just a show of hand. We vote.
Counselor Howe? Counselor Howe's in favor. Counselor Vardy?
Yes.
All right, that's carried.
Okay, so the next one was any matter may be deleted or deferred from the agenda by majority vote. So that's on page 25 of 42 under approval of the agenda. So I would just ask that notices of motion that go through the proper procedure. And I have no problem putting a notice of motion down, having a debate about it, and having it turned down. I don't care if everybody turns it down. I would just ask that you respect the fact that we have a debate over it and respectfully turn it down. That's all. Don't delete it, please. So I'm going to ask for that amendment as well. So that was page 25 of 42 for the procedural bylaw. Sorry, 7.3, number 2. Any member may be deleted, any matter may be deleted or deferred from the agenda by majority vote.
Thanks. So through the chair, that is, again, a common procedural bylaw. In there, it is for notice of motions, for example, if something was outside the jurisdiction of council, it would permit, it would not be included. I would suggest that if you want to put the amendment forward, that it say, well, I guess you could just remove it. That would probably be.
I would just ask to remove it, yes.
All right, so the resolution is to remove 7.32. Need a seconder for it? Counselor Korstanji?
Do you want me to read those notes?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
read.
Section 7.3, subsection 2, approval of the agenda. It says any matter may be defeated or deferred from the agenda by majority vote. And the amendment is to remove that section from the procedural bylaw.
Right, just a point of clarification on that. So if we vote yes, that's in favor of removing it?
Correct.
All right, so no's keeping it status quo. Okay. Those ones get confusing. Counselor DeFlavio.
Yeah, that one is really confusing. Quick question through you, Mayor. So couldn't the committee just vote? I don't understand the purpose of this, because people could just bring up a deferral motion and vote on it right there. There are lots of ways to just strike something from an agenda without striking it from the agenda. So I don't get the purpose of this. So if, I don't know if, maybe if the clerk can just clarify quickly.
Through the chair, to remove something, if you didn't have that provision in, you would need 2/3 of the committee or council to remove something from the agenda. In this case, it's saying that you would need a majority.
Counselor Bradzi. All right, you'd like to call the question? All right. Yeah, we had moved by Counselor Charwa, second by Counselor Korstanji. 7.32. Be removed. E-scribe, please.
No.
Okay, Councillor Howe, we've got the no. Councillor Vardy?
No.
Yes, we've got that. All right, that's defeated.
Okay, so notices of motion. Page 26 of 42, under notice of motion, number 1, a notice of motion is a written notice given by a member of council of their intent to introduce the matter for consideration by council at a subsequent meeting. Before introducing a notice of motion, a member of council is encouraged to consult with the appropriate members of town staff and chief administrative officer regarding the subject matter of their notice of motion. A member of council may introduce a notice of motion by providing the clerk a written copy of the notice of motion, duly signed by the mover and a seconder no later than 4:30 on the Tuesday prior to the council meeting, to be included on the agenda for consideration at a subsequent meeting. And then it says on 4, a notice of motion must have a seconder before it is included on the agenda. The seconder must confirm their approval in writing by the clerk by the deadlines indicated in section 7.71 and 2. It just seems so complicated to get to put a notice of motion, and for me, I'm usually on the losing side, and I've come to realize that, and that's fine. However, I would just ask respectfully that for our constituents that we just have debate and we turn it down. We don't need to make it so complicated for somebody to put something forward and have it sit there. That's all.
Just a point of clarification, sorry to interrupt, but if you can't find a seconder for a notice of motion, I think probably right there, that's a good thing. If you may well be wasting your time and wasting council's time to get something on the floor, that if you can't find a seconder and you go through all of council, bringing it to council is just something that's going to make our meetings longer. And I think that it's a good way to float something that you're thinking of with someone else that's on council. And I think that was done quite often in the past. I think Councillor DeFlavio can confer with me.
I respect that. I appreciate that you're giving that input. But before it was Wednesday, right? So we moved it so that you had to get it in Wednesday. So it's before we even have a look at the agenda. Now we're asking to have it even in advance, and then you have to find somebody else to put it through. So it's like we're making it so far in advance for somebody just to announce that they're going to talk about something like a month after. So I don't know why we need to be so complicated. I've never seen this anywhere else. I can't say that this probably is anywhere other than Grimsby. So I'm just asking that we go back to some simplified version of having democratic, respectful talk.
Councillor Korstanji.
Thank you, through chair. I just have a question on that. So are we to then be emailing our other I'm just worried about having discussions then on topics that we shouldn't be, to having discussions on behind the scenes on different topics. So,
well, I don't think you'd email all of council. You'd bring it forward. If you can't bring it forward in person, you'd bring it forward in a personal email to another councillor and talk about it, or pick up the phone and call them.
See, I have a problem with that. So for myself, I think we're supposed to be having these conversations in council chambers. So, these are things that you bring forward individually and you discuss them with your council members. It's not a coordinated thing outside of council chambers.
Just the two that I know that have it already is Lincoln and the regional council. So they bring notice of motions, have a seconder. Do you want to call the question?
Might have a couple words first. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, then you can't. If you speak on it, then you can't call it.
I lost my train of thought. No, I think it should be completely normal for councillors to pick up the phone, call one another. Obviously, not to chat in groups larger than 5. But I don't think that we should be considering every in which motion. I think we should be focused more on business pertaining to the town and the town's interest. And we should be making strides to streamline that more. And I think if there are some conversations going on, to one counselor to two counselors after a committee meeting. And like the mayor said, if there's no support there, then there's really no point in bringing it and wasting council's time. Now,
Councillor DeVoli.
I would like to, Mayor, I'd like to just talk about something else that you mentioned, and perhaps one of my fellow councillors mentioned about the suggestion within our procedural bylaw to run things by our staff when we have a notice of motion too. And I will say that is an extremely good idea. My concern is that some of our notice of motion go on for a very long time. Where is this? Where is that? Where is this? Where is that? And my concern is that when they go on, they start mentioning all sorts of things which are not always accurate or complete as well. And so I do find that the process of running it by staff to be extremely useful. It's another set of eyes on it that says, how do you know this? Are you sure this is correct? And so on. And I find that to be a very useful step. And I like seeing it in our procedures.
Even just to add to Councillor DeVoli's, I mean, sometimes things get on agenda that we have no control over either, so it makes sense just to completely remove them. But now I'll call the question.
Councillor Frakes called the question. All right, so we're voting on the original resolution, moved by Councillor Frakes, second by Councillor Bradley. Resolved the report TC 2410 midterm procedural review dated September 9th, 2024 be received, and one, that the amendments to bylaw 2065 consolidated procedure bylaw be approved as presented, and number 3, that audio video recording of closed session policy be approved as presented, and number 4, that the simplified meeting procedure for advisory committees be rescinded, and number 5, that the town clerk be delegated the authority to implement changes to all related processes, procedures, and policies as required to implement council's decision further to the approval of this report. All in favor with your e-scribe? Or against?
Yes.
Councillor Howe is a yes. Councillor Vardy?
Yes, for me.
Councillor Vardy's a yes. All right, and that is carried. Up next, we have the last report from the Clerk's Department, the 2025 Council and Committee meeting schedule. Can I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Councillor Bradley, Councillor DeVoli. Any discussion? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Bradley, second by Councillor DeVoli. Resolved that report TC 24-11, 2025 Council and Committee meeting schedule dated September 9th, 2024 be received, and that the 2025 Council and Committee meeting schedule be approved as presented. All in favor? That's carried. Moving to resolutions, the first one is Councillor Bradley's notice of motion from the last meeting. We have Councillor Bradley as the mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Frake. Discussion?
Through the chair, we need to have the resolution approved in open session that council is authorizing that you move into closed session. So, and then we will discuss the closed session in closed session. So this is council agreeing to go into closed session about your notice of motion.
And clarification, does that mean we go into now, or can we go at the end of the meeting with the other items? Okay, so far.
All right. Moved by Councillor Bradley, second by Councillor Frake. Whereas Section 2392C of the Ontario Municipal Act states, a meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, whereas Section 2392 2K of the Ontario Municipal Act states, K, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Therefore, be it resolved that council move into closed session to discuss the potential acquisition or disposition of property along the waterfront trail. All in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. All right. I think we had 5, so. Up next, we have Councillor Chaw's motion on Integrity Commissioner legislation. There are responses from the clerk and the Integrity Commissioner. Can I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Councillor Bradsey. Seconder. Councillor DeFlavio. Now, you.
Why don't you, well, it's just that they be received, so
Okay.
you can vote on that and then read the motion.
All right. Moved by Councillor Bradsey, second by Councillor DeFlavio. Resolve that the memorandums from the clerk and the Integrity Commissioner be received. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Chawa has moved her motion. Is there a seconder to get it on the floor? That's Municipal Act framework within a municipality. I don't see a seconder, so that is defeated. Councillor Bradsey, Events Task Force Committee. Councillor Bradsey's moved it. Seconder. Councillor Frick seconded to get it on the floor. Councillor Bradsey, would you like to lead the discussion?
You should read it. Staff are online.
Oh, yeah, staff's online. Sarah's. Yeah, read your, you can read your motion. I'll let you read it.
Okay. Whereas council has made investments in facilitating events within the town of Grimsby with the aim of enhancing community spirit, quality of life for residents, and fostering a vibrant local economy. And whereas the creation of a dedicated events task force committee could provide focused attention and expertise to the planning and execution of town events and a proactive approach to planning multiple events, while also leveraging community volunteers and public-private partnerships. Therefore, be it resolved that staff prepare a report outlining the feasibility and resource implications of establishing an events task force committee in 2025 to oversee the planning and execution of town events, including but not limited to a Canada Day long weekend festival. Be it further resolved that staff or the newly established committee develop a yearly Grimsby event schedule outlining potential competing events outside or inside the town, timelines needed to plan events, and venue or park restraints, as well as resource requirements. And I acknowledge that this notice of motion will be considered at today's meeting.
All right, questions or comments?
I mean,
Or do we just want to vote on it and refer it back?
Yeah, I thought we would have had, I mean, obviously not a full-on yearly timeline by now, but we're kind of having the folks that delegated earlier tonight kind of speaks for a while. That's one event that hasn't been here in 100 years, but we can certainly be bringing in more smaller events more frequently.
Councillor Frick.
Yeah, I don't know how much we can debate this one tonight, but I think it's a good idea. It has a lot of merit, but I really would like to hear what staff has to say, and maybe they can come back with some kind of a plan, or because we do have a lot of events, and I think there's maybe a way of coordinating some of these things and help move them along more efficiently, more effectively, more costly. Yeah. I think we should just let staff do the work on this one. Thank you.
All right, so we have that in the body of the resolution, so I guess we just, a show of hands should be fine. All in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll include. So, Councillor Vardy, yes or no? Well, I think we have 5. I've got myself,
Councillor Craig.
the mover, the seconder,
Delay.
Councillor DeVoli, and Councillor Howe. So that's carried.
Can also I just add that we're really looking to next year too, so there's not like immediate rush to this timeline, so definitely want a more fulsome view.
I think that's noted. All right, up next, we have correspondence. Councillor DeVoli has requested a resolution from the City of Quinte West regarding the Canada Community Building Fund be endorsed. Do we have a seconder? All right, Councillor Frake. Moved by Councillor DeVoli, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved that the council receive and endorse the correspondence from the City of Quinte West regarding the Canada Community Building Fund. All in favor? That's carried. That's carried. All right, can I have a mover and seconder to receive the remaining correspondence? Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Resolved that the following correspondence be received. Niagara Escarpment Commission letter to municipalities regarding short-term accommodations. Town of Fort Erie support family physicians. All in favor? That's carried. All right. Okay, so we're going to do the proclamations and the bylaws, and we'll take a 5-minute break before we go into closed session. So I need a mover and seconder for the Rail Safety Week. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Bradsey. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 23rd to 29th, 2024, and whereas 229 railway crossings and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2023, resulting in 66 avoidable fatalities and 39 avoidable serious injuries, and whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that rail rights-of-way are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, rail industry, governments, police services, media, and others to raise rail safety awareness. Whereas CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested City Council adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in communities, including our municipality. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Grimsby supports National Rail Safety Week to be held from September 23rd to 29th. All in favor? That's carried. And can I have a mover and seconder for the British Home Child Day proclamation? Moved by Councillor Korstanji, second by Councillor Charwa. Moved by Councillor Korstanji, second by Councillor Charwa. Whereas over 100,000 poor and orphan children were taken from all areas of the UK to Canada between 1869 and 1940 and used as farm labor and domestic services in Canadian households. These children became known as British Home Children, BHC, and whereas there are an estimated 4 million BHC descendants living in Canada today, many of whom were settled in Halton and the surrounding areas, and whereas this year marks the 154th anniversary of the first party of BHC to arrive on Canadian shores and cities across Canada. Therefore, I, Mayor Jeff Jordan, do hereby proclaim September 28th, 2024 as British Home Child Day. All in favor? That's carried. All right, can I have a mover and seconder for the Seniors Climate Day proclamation? Moved by Councillor Korstanji, second by Councillor DeFlavio. Moved by Councillor Korstanji, second by Councillor DeFlavio. Whereas October 1st is Canada's National Seniors Day, and the UN International Day of Older Persons. It is a day to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of seniors, and whereas Seniors for Climate is a nationwide mobilization calling for urgent access to address the climate crisis and support a livable future for our children and grandchildren, and whereas we are witnessing the degradation of the natural environment, loss of biodiversity, deadly heat waves, wildfires, floods, and destructive storms, and whereas we must reduce carbon emission for a livable future and work towards a transition to renewable energy, and whereas the town of Grimsby recognizes the importance of widespread support for Seniors for Climate and its goals, therefore I, Mayor Jeff Jordan, hereby proclaim October 1st, 2024 as Seniors for Climate Day. All in favor? That's carried. Up next, we have bylaws. Can I have a mover and seconder to approve the bylaws? Moved by Councillor Davoli, second by Councillor Frake. Moved by Councillor Davoli, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaws 2462 to 2464 inclusive, and that the same be read a first time and considered and passed. All in favor? That's carried. Our next council meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 23rd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. We're going into closed session now, so good evening for everyone who doesn't come back after the close, and for the people that do, we'll see you after our closed session. And we're going to have a 5-minute break. We're just waiting to get back into open. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Council will be now voting on the 3 reports discussed in closed session. Can I have a mover and seconder? Oh, I guess we have movers and seconders. We may as well just use them, right?
Yep, I can tell you. So the first
All
one was Councilor Vardy, Councilor Cristanchi.
Moved by Councilor Vardy, second by Councilor Korstanji. Resolved that report PA 2427, A2324, 256 Mountain Road, minor variance application, town representation at Land Tribunal, dated August 29, 2024, be received, and that council instruct town's legal counsel to reach a settlement with the appellant accepting the planning staff recommendation contained with the planning staff report regarding minor variance application A23-24 and present such settlement to the Ontario Land Tribunal. E-scribe vote.
It's a no for me.
All right, that's carried. Now I need a mover and seconder for report.
Frake
Oh.
and Bradsey.
Moved by Councilor Frake, second by Councilor Bradsey. Resolved that report PA 24-28, 26 OP 162303 and Z 26 162303, 54544 North Service Road, Town Representation at Ontario Land Tribunal dated September 9th, 2024 be received, and that council instruct the town's legal counsel to defend the town's decision at the OLT hearing. E-scribe, please.
Yes.
All right, that's carried. Can I have a, mover.
Sorry. Cristanchi and DeFlavio.
Moved by Councilor Korstanji, second by Councilor DeFlavio. Resolved that report PA 24-29, A22-24, 30 Viking Drive, minor variance application, town representation of the Ontario Land Tribunal dated September 9, 2024 be received, and the council instruct the town's legal counsel to reach a settlement with the appellant accepting the planning staff recommendation contained within the planning staff report regarding minor variance application A22-24 and present such a settlement to the Ontario Land Tribunal. E-scribe, please. Councilor Vardy?
No.
All right, that's carried. All right. Can I have a mover and seconder to approve the remaining closed session direction? Councilor Bradsey, Councilor Frake, moved by Councilor Bradsey, second by Councilor Frake, resolved that the direction provided in closed session regarding the proposed acquisition or disposition of land be approved. All in favor? Okay, e-scribe vote.
It's okay, you can tell me, I've got it here.
Councilor Vardy?
Yes.
That's carried. Can I have a mover and seconder for the confirming bylaw? Moved by Councilor Bradsey, second by Councilor Frake. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaw 24-65 and that same be read a first time, considered, and passed. All in favor? That's carried. Good night, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.